So here's the thing about the Galactic Survival Challenge. It's basically the universe's most pretentious reality show, where species get to prove they're not complete idiots before the Galactic Council grants them advanced civilization status. Think of it as Survivor meets intergalactic bureaucracy, hosted by the most self-important aliens you can imagine. Our story begins with Jake Reeves, a 32-year-old janitor from Earth, standing in what can only be described as a cosmic waiting room. Jake's wearing his work coveralls, because nobody told him this was happening. Apparently, there was a clerical error. The council meant to grab Earth's top survival expert, but someone typed the wrong employee ID number at the Mars station where Jake was cleaning toilets. Classic bureaucracy. Chancellor Preem, the host, struts onto the stage with the confidence of someone who's never been told no. He's bird-like, covered in iridescent purple feathers, with a voice that sounds like he gargles gravel for breakfast. He spreads his wings dramatically, which is apparently his thing. Welcome, contestants, to the most prestigious evaluation in the known galaxy, Preem announces, drawing out every syllable like he's getting paid by the word. You will prove your species' worthiness through the ultimate test of survival skills. Jake raises his hand. Yeah, hi. Quick question. Is there going to be food? Or should I have grabbed something before the whole abduction thing? Preem ignores him completely and gestures to the other contestants. There's Korvax, a 7-foot-tall reptilian creature from the Draken Empire, who looks like someone gave a Komodo dragon a gym membership and an ego problem. He's flexing. Nobody asked him to flex. He's just doing it. Then there's Fleen, a gelatinous blob creature from the Moisin cluster, who keeps making apologetic gurgling sounds. Fleen is literally quivering with anxiety, which for a blob means his entire body is jiggling like nervous jello. The rules are simple, Preem continues, pacing dramatically. You will be transported to Testing World Sigma-7. You will be stripped of all technology, all equipment, all modern conveniences. You must survive for 7 planetary rotations, using only what nature provides. The species whose representative performs best will gain priority status in council trade negotiations. Korvax pounds his chest. The Drakon Empire has conquered 17 star systems. This test is beneath me, but I shall demonstrate our superiority regardless. Fleen makes a sound like a whoopee cushion having an existential crisis. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Should I not be here? I feel like maybe I shouldn't be here. Jake scratches his head. So just to clarify, we're going camping? That's the big test? Camping? Preem's feathers ruffle in irritation. This is not camping, human. This is a trial of fundamental survival capability. 93% of species fail to last even 3 rotations without technological support. Right, Jake says slowly. Camping. Testing World Sigma-7 looks like someone ordered a planet from the clearance section. It's got rocks, some scraggly bushes, a river that's probably safe to drink from, and absolutely nothing else. The 3 contestants materialize on the surface via teleportation, which Jake has to admit is pretty cool, even if he did throw up a little. Chancellor Preem's voice booms from floating observation drones. Your 7 rotations begin now. Remember, any use of technology will result in immediate disqualification and potential imprisonment. Good luck, and may your species prove adequate. The drones float away to a safe distance, their cameras focused on the contestants. Korvax immediately launches into what can only be described as a motivational speech to himself. The ancient Drakon warriors survived the scorching of Vex Thalar without tools. I shall meditate and channel their wisdom. My superior physiology will sustain me. He then sits down cross-legged on a rock and closes his eyes. Fleen starts eating dirt, just scooping it up and absorbing it into his gelatinous body. I'm sorry, he gurgles between mouthfuls of soil. I panic eat when I'm stressed. Is this dirt? I can't tell if this is food. I'm sorry. Jake looks around, spots 2 decent-sized rocks near the river, and walks over to grab them. He sits down, positions one rock as a base, takes the other one, and smacks them together. Once, twice, 3 times, a razor-sharp flake of stone pops off into his hand. 90 seconds after the challenge started, Jake's holding a perfectly functional knife. Up in the observation deck of the orbital monitoring station, 3 judges are watching the feeds. Admiral Crix, an insectoid creature with too many eyes and not enough patience, leans forward. Did the human just make a weapon? Negative, says Judge Tollin, a floating brain in a containment suit. Our sensors detect no technological signatures. That appears to be naturally fractured stone. He fractured it on purpose. Crix's antennae twitch rapidly. In 90 seconds, Chancellor Preem adjusts his ceremonial sash nervously. Technically, the rules state no use of technology. Stone is not technology. Stone is nature. We specifically allow the use of natural resources. He weaponized a rock with another rock. Crix is now pacing, which is impressive given he has 6 legs. This feels like cheating. Back on the surface, Jake's already moved on. He's gathering dry grass and small twigs, arranging them in a little pile. Corbax is still meditating, occasionally opening one eye to make sure everyone notices how spiritual he's being. Fleen has moved from eating dirt to eating a bush, still apologizing with every bite. Jake pulls out a straight stick and a flat piece of bark. He carves a notch in the bark with his new stone knife, places the stick in the notch, and starts rotating it rapidly between his palms. Smoke appears within 2 minutes, actual flames within 4. The human has made fire. Pause the feed, Admiral Crix shouts. How did he make fire? Check the rules again. Preem is frantically scrolling through a holographic document that's approximately 7,000 pages long. Fire is not mentioned as prohibited. Fire is a natural phenomenon. Technically, he used friction and naturally occurring materials. 4 minutes, Judge Tollin says quietly, his brain somehow looking stressed despite having no face. The average species requires 11 hours to produce fire, assuming they have the knowledge at all. Jake, completely unaware of the chaos he's causing, starts building a shelter using branches and large leaves. He's weaving them together in a basic but effective lean-to structure. The whole thing takes him maybe 20 minutes. It has a raised bed platform to keep him off the cold ground. It has a slanted roof for rain. It even has a little fire pit positioned to reflect heat into the shelter. Corbax finally opens his eyes and sees Jake's camp. His meditative expression cracks. What is this? We just started. Yeah, wanted to get set up before dark, Jake says, testing the structural integrity of his shelter. You should probably get on that, buddy. Temperature's gonna drop pretty fast once the sun sets. Corbax looks at his meditation rock, then at Jake's functional campsite, then back at his rock. His reptilian brain is clearly struggling. The Drakon way is spiritual superiority, not crude labor. Cool, Jake says, now sharpening a longer stick into a spear. You do you, man. Up in the observation deck, Admiral Crix has given up on standing and is now lying flat on the floor. What have we done? By day 2, Jake's essentially running a primitive bed and breakfast. He's caught 3 fish using the spear he made, which is now propped against his shelter like he's storing it for later. He's found wild onions, some kind of tuber that tastes like a potato, had a baby with a turnip, and herbs that smell like rosemary. The fish are cooking over his fire on a flat rock he's turned into a makeshift griddle. Corbax has abandoned meditation entirely and is trying to copy everything Jake does, but with the coordination of a toddler wearing oven mitts, he's attempted to make a knife 4 times. Each attempt has produced either rock dust or a piece that immediately crumbles. He's now nursing a cut on his hand and glaring at Jake with barely concealed rage. This is not natural. Corbax hisses, watching Jake casually flip a fish. Your species must have cybernetic enhancements. There is no other explanation. Jake looks up, genuinely confused. Dude, my grandpa taught me this stuff when I was 8. We used to go camping in Montana every summer. This is like basic outdoor knowledge. Height? Corbax's voice cracks. Your younglings learn weapons crafting at 8 rotations? I mean, yeah, earlier if you count whittling sticks. Jake shrugs. My little sister made her first fire when she was 10. Granted, she almost burned down the garage, but she got the concept. Up in the observation deck, things have deteriorated significantly. Admiral Crix has called an emergency council meeting. There are now 12 judges present, all watching Jake's feed with various expressions of horror. I motion to review the human species file, Crix announces officially. There must be something we missed during their initial evaluation. Judge Tollin's containment suit displays a holographic screen. Earth was classified as Class 7, low threat, technologically emerging, standard carbon-based lifeforms. Nothing remarkable noted. Pull up their evolutionary history, demands Chancellor Preem, who stopped caring about his feathers and now looks distinctly ruffled. The hologram shifts to show Earth's timeline. Judge Tollin scrolls through it, and his brain literally changes color from pink to gray. Oh no. What is oh no? Crix leans in. I do not like oh no. Humans are persistence predators, Tollin says slowly. They evolved by chasing prey animals until the prey collapsed from exhaustion, sometimes for days. That is horrifying, says a jellyfish-like judge from the back. It gets worse. Tollin continues scrolling. Multiple ice ages, survived. Global plague that killed 30% of their population, survived. Volcanic winter that blocked out their sun, survived. They have a documented history of eating poisonous plants repeatedly until they figured out how to make them non-poisonous. They domesticated wolves by basically annoying them into friendship. Annoying them? Preem's voice is barely a whisper. They fed them scraps until the wolves decided it was easier to cooperate than leave. Humans weaponized persistence into a survival strategy. Admiral Crix points at the screen showing Jake, who's now weaving a fishing net from plant fibers. So what you're telling me is we put an apex survivor species into a survival competition. Correct. And we didn't know because we only checked if they had weapons of mass destruction. Also correct. One of the judges, a crystalline being named Shard, speaks up nervously. Should we just give him the prize now? I feel like we should just give him the prize now. The show must go on, Preem insists weakly. We have sponsors. Viewers across 17 galaxies. We cannot simply cancel because one contestant is performing well. Back on the surface, Fleen has actually figured things out. Turns out blob creatures can photosynthesize if they absorb enough chlorophyll. He's eaten so many plants that he's turned slightly green and discovered he doesn't actually need to eat anymore. He's now just lying in the sun, peacefully humming to himself. Hey Fleen, Jake calls over. You doing okay, buddy? I'm wonderful, Fleen gurgles happily. I've achieved inner peace through accidental photosynthesis. I'm sorry for earlier. I was having a moment. No worries, man, we all have. Moments. Corbax is sharpening a stick with a rock, producing something that looks more like a club with splinters. The Draken Empire will hear of this humiliation, he mutters. This test is clearly biased toward primitive species. Jake's already moved on to his next project, which appears to be a raised smoking rack for preserving fish. He's humming while he works. The observing drones hover closer, and somewhere in the monitoring station, Admiral Crix is updating Earth's threat assessment level for the third time today. Admiral Crix slams multiple appendages on the conference table. Emergency session is now in order. We need to discuss the human problem. I object to the term problem, Judge Tollin says diplomatically. The human is simply excelling at the stated objective. He's not excelling, he's dominating. Crix pulls up Jake's live feed, where he's currently testing a primitive but functional water filter he made from sand, charcoal, and woven grass. It's been 3 days. 3 days. He's built infrastructure. Chancellor Preem is stress-molting, leaving purple feathers all over his chair. The ratings are through the roof. 67 species are watching to see what he builds next. The Moisten cluster has already requested Jake's autograph for Fleen to bring home. That's not the point. Crix gestures wildly. Look at the research we've compiled. Show them, Tollin. The holographic display shifts to Earth's history, and it's worse than anyone thought. Judge Tollin's voice takes on the quality of someone reading a horror story. Humans evolved on a planet that actively tried to kill them. Continental drift caused regular catastrophic climate shifts. They survived. Meteor impacts. They survived. They had an ice age, crawled into caves, discovered fire, and just waited it out wearing animal skins. Okay, but many species have survival instincts, Shard offers weakly. They have a documented medical condition called autoimmune disease, where they're explications from their explication. Bodies literally attack themselves, and they've developed hundreds of medications to keep functioning anyway. Tollin continues. They break bones and invented ways to keep using the broken limb while it heals. They get infections and discovered chemicals to kill the infection while keeping themselves alive. Their solution to every problem is, I'll just deal with it. A four-armed judge named Veptis raises a hand. Surely they have some weakness? Their weakness is they refuse to acknowledge weaknesses, Tollin says flatly. I found a historical document about a human who amputated his own arm with a dull knife to escape being trapped by a rock. He then hiked for miles to get help. He's considered inspirational, not insane. The room goes silent, except for the sound of Preem's stress molting, intensifying. There's more, Tollin adds, because apparently the universe hates them. Humans are persistence predators. Do you understand what that means? They don't have venom. They don't have claws. They don't have armor. What they have is the ability to just keep going. They would literally chase prey animals for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Then they'd walk up and kill it with a rock. With a rock, Crix repeats numbly. With a rock they carried with them because they knew they'd need it eventually. They planned their murders. Veptis pulls up another file. It says here they fought wars against each other for thousands of years, and their solution was to get better at war. They didn't stop fighting, they just optimized it. They invented new ways to fight, then invented rules about fighting, then broke those rules, then made new rules. They domesticated prey animals, Shard reads from another document. Not for friendship, for food. They befriended animals specifically to eat them later more efficiently. They also befriended animals not to eat them, Tollin adds. Apparently, just because they thought the animals were cute, they have no consistent survival logic. Chancellor Preem finally speaks, his voice hollow. So what you're telling me is that humans are apex survivors with no natural predators, who evolved by being too stubborn to die, and we put one in a survival challenge because we thought they were harmless. Yes, and he's currently winning by such a margin that the other contestants have given up? On screen, Corbax is visible in the background of Jake's camp, trying to trade his ceremonial meditation beads for some cooked fish. Fleen is photosynthesizing contentedly nearby, occasionally complimenting Jake's craftsmanship. Also yes, Talon confirms. Admiral Crix pulls up Earth's classification file and stares at it. Who rated them Class 7 low threat? An intern named Blortex. He was fired last year for unrelated incompetence. Unrelated, Crix says slowly. Unrelated? He also classified a supernova as a light drizzle, so yes, this tracks with his performance record. Preem stands up, feathers falling around him like defeated snow. Fine. The show continues. We cannot cancel now without admitting we made a catastrophic error in judgment. But the moment this is over, we're reclassifying Earth. To what level? Shard asks. Everyone turns to look at the screen where Jake is now building a rock garden because, according to his commentary, he's getting bored, and it looks nice. To whatever level means we never give them a reason to get creative, Crix says darkly. Day 7 dawns on testing world Sigma 7, and if the Galactic Council thought things couldn't get more absurd, they were tragically mistaken. Jake's camp has transformed from a basic survival setup into what can only be described as a primitive resort. The observation drones do a slow pan across his achievement, and up in the monitoring station, multiple judges are just staring in silence. The original lean-to shelter has been reinforced and expanded. It now has a covered porch area where Jake's built a adaptable sitting bench from shaped logs lashed together with braided plant fiber rope. The rope itself is a work of art, 3-ply twisted with consistent tension throughout. He's even carved little notches in the support posts, apparently just for decoration. The smoking rack is in full operation. There are 6 fish hanging from it, slowly curing in the aromatic smoke from a carefully maintained fire below. Jake's figured out that green wood from a specific tree produces the best flavor, so he stockpiled it. Next to the smoker is what appears to be a primitive food storage system, a raised platform covered with large leaves to keep insects away, with several clay containers. He made pottery, Judge Talon announces, zooming in on the containers. When did he make pottery? Day 5. Admiral Crix replies tiredly. He's been watching every second of footage, partly from duty, and partly from morbid fascination. He found clay by the river, shaped it, and fired it in his campfire. They're waterproof. He's storing clean drinking water in them. The camera pans further. There's a rainwater collection system consisting of large leaves funneled into one of the clay pots. There's a dedicated fire pit lined with stones, with a flat rock positioned as a cooking surface, and several sticks arranged as pot holders. There's a drying rack with various herbs hanging from it. The man has a spice collection. But the piece de resistance, the thing that's making Chancellor Preem seriously consider retirement, is the rock garden. It's a small Zen-style arrangement near the shelter, with smooth river stones carefully positioned in a bed of sand. Jake somehow separated from regular dirt. There's a pattern raked into the sand. It's aesthetically pleasing. He got bored, Shard whispers in disbelief. He ran out of survival tasks, so he started landscaping. Jake himself is currently lying in a hammock. The hammock is woven from the inner bark of a tree, suspended between 2 posts he planted. Specifically for this purpose, he's positioned it to catch the morning sun but remain shaded during the hot afternoon. One hand dangles down, occasionally stirring a clay pot of what appears to be some kind of tea made from local herbs. Meanwhile, Corbax is visible about 50 meters away, looking like he's been through a war. His scales are dull, covered in dirt. He's sitting in what can only be described as a depression, both geographical and psychological. He managed to build a fire on day 4 after watching Jake do it 17 times. His shelter is a pile of branches that falls over every time the wind picks up. He's been surviving on the charity of Jake's cooking, trading whatever dignity he has left for smoked fish. The Dracon Empire will never let me return, Corbax mutters to himself, loud enough for the drones to pick up. I am dishonored. Defeated by a primitive who makes furniture for relaxation. Fleen, by contrast, is having the time of his life. He's discovered that photosynthesis is amazing, and has spent the last 3 days just vibing. He's currently spread out on a sunny rock like a translucent green pancake, humming what might be the Moisen Cluster national anthem. This is nice, Fleen gurgles contentedly. I was so worried before, but this is just nice. Thank you for inviting me, Chancellor Preem. I'm sorry I doubted the process. The pickup ships enter the atmosphere right on schedule, their descent visible as bright streaks across the sky. Jake notices, takes one last sip of his herbal tea, and carefully extinguishes his fire. He actually does it properly, drowning it with water and stirring the ashes, checking for remaining heat with his hand. Safety first, he says to the nearest drone. Grandpa's rules. Never leave a fire unattended. Always make sure it's completely out before you leave camp. The ships land in a clearing about 100 meters away. The hatches open, and Chancellor Preem emerges, flanked by Admiral Crix and Judge Tollin. They're wearing full ceremonial garb for the pickup, which now seems ridiculously overdressed given Jake's casual competence. Jake walks over, carrying his stone knife and one of his clay pots as souvenirs. Hey, that's 7 days, right? We good? Preem opens his beak, closes it, opens it again. No sound comes out. Admiral Crix takes over. Yes, human Jake Reeves. The evaluation period has concluded. We will now return you to the observation station for final judging. Cool, Jake says, then pauses. Hey, quick question. Do you guys have beer up there? I've been craving a cold one for like 3 days now. I could make a primitive alcohol from fermented berries probably, but 7 days isn't really enough time for proper fermentation, you know? He considered making alcohol? Tollin's brain pulses with something that might be respect or terror. He evaluated the fermentation timeline and determined it was not viable within the challenge parameters. I will authorize access to our beverage reserves, Crix says weakly. Jake grins. Awesome. Oh, and if you want, I can show you guys how to do the knife thing. It's really not that hard once you understand the flaking angle and stone density. Some rocks work better than others. You want fine-grained stuff, like flint or obsidian, but you can make do with quartzite in a pinch. Corbax, overhearing this, makes a sound like a deflating balloon and collapses fully into his depression hole. Fleen oozes over happily. This was wonderful. I learned so much about myself. Mostly that I don't need to eat as much as I thought. That's going to save me so much money on groceries. The contestants are loaded onto the ship. As they lift off, the observation drones take one final sweep of Jake's camp. It sits there, functional and well-organized, a monument to casual human competence. In the rock garden, the pattern in the sand is already being disturbed by wind, but the careful stone placement remains. Up in the ship, Jake's accepted a beverage that's apparently the alien equivalent of beer. He takes a sip, makes a face, and says diplomatically, "It's interesting. Different. Not bad, just different." Chancellor Preem, Admiral Crix, and Judge Tollin exchange glances. Somewhere in that moment, they all simultaneously realize that humanity hasn't even been trying to impress them. This is just normal for them. The thought is absolutely terrifying. The award ceremony takes place in the Grand Amphitheater of the Galactic Council Station, a massive hall that can hold representatives from 300 species. Today, it's packed. Word has spread about the humans' performance, and everyone wants to see the creature who turned a survival challenge into a camping vacation. Jake's standing on a floating platform alongside Corbax and Fleen, all 3 contestants lined up for final judgment. He's still wearing his work coveralls, which someone tried to clean but they're permanently stained with a week's worth of outdoor living. He looks completely comfortable, occasionally waving at the crowd like this is a normal Tuesday. Corbax is wearing his full ceremonial armor, which he demanded from his ship before the ceremony. He's trying to salvage some dignity, standing rigidly at attention, but his eyes keep darting to Jake with barely concealed resentment, mixed with something that might be horrified awe. Fleen is just happy to be included. He's condensed himself into a more formal cube shape and is shimmering with what passes for blob excitement. Chancellor Preem takes the stage, his feathers freshly preened, though everyone can tell he's been stress molting. He spreads his wings wide and addresses the assembled crowd. Honored delegates, species representatives, and viewers across the 17 connected galaxies. We have concluded the Galactic Survival Challenge. Our 3 contestants faced 7 rotations on Testing World Sigma. 7 with no technology, no tools, and no support. The rest are holographic displays around the amphitheater light up, showing highlight reels from each contestant. Corbax's reel is mostly him meditating, failing to make fire, and eventually accepting charity. It's diplomatic editing, but everyone knows what they're really seeing. A scattering of polite applause ripples through the crowd. Fleen's reel shows his panic-eating phase, his accidental discovery of photosynthesis, and several clips of him apologizing to plants before absorbing them. It's actually kind of endearing. The crowd offers warm, encouraging applause. The Moisten Cluster delegation is crying, which for blobs means they're slightly more liquid than usual. Then Jake's reel plays. It starts with the knife creation at 90 seconds and just escalates from there. Fire in 4 minutes, shelter in 20, spearfishing, pottery making, the smoking rack, the water filtration system, the rock garden. Each accomplishment flashes by, and the crowd's reaction shifts from polite interest to stunned silence, to what can only be described as collective existential crisis. The reel ends with a shot of Jake in his hammock, sipping herbal tea, surrounded by his primitive resort, looking more relaxed than most species look in their own homes. The applause that follows is confused and scattered, like nobody knows quite how to process what they've seen. The judges have deliberated, Preem announces, his voice wavering slightly. By unanimous decision, the winner of this cycle's Galactic Survival Challenge is Jake Reeves of Earth. The applause this time is more genuine, though tinged with nervousness. Jake waves again, completely oblivious to the fact that half the audience is mentally recalculating their species' defense strategies. Admiral Crix approaches the platform, carrying an ornate crystal trophy on a floating pedestal. It's inscribed in 17 languages with the words, Galactic Survival Champion. He presents it to Jake with multiple appendages that are shaking. Slightly. Congratulations, human, Crix says formally, then pauses. The amphitheater has gone quiet. Crix clears his throat with a sound like clicking mandibles. I have been authorized to extend an official invitation on behalf of the Galactic Council. Would humanity be interested in developing a curriculum to teach survival skills to other species? We would compensate Earth generously for this knowledge transfer. The crowd murmurs. This is unprecedented. The Council never asks new species for help with anything, let alone pays them for it. Jake scratches his head, looking genuinely confused. I mean, sure, but this is pretty basic stuff. My grandpa taught me most of this when I was 8. We've got like millions of people on Earth who know way more than me. There are whole communities dedicated to primitive skills. Some folks can make fire with sticks in under a minute. There's this guy on the internet who built a working forge using only materials he found in the woods. The murmuring gets louder. Several delegates are frantically taking notes. 8 years old. Judge Tolan repeats into a microphone, his brain pulsing with emphasis. The human learned weapons creation at 8 rotations of age. This is standard practice for their species. A crystalline delegate from the Refraction Collective stands up. Clarification requested. Is the human considered an expert in survival skills among his species? Jake laughs. Me? No way. I'm a janitor. I clean toilets on Mars Station. Well, I did before someone accidentally teleported me here. This is just stuff my grandpa thought everyone should know. Basic outdoor competence, he called it. My little sister is way better at this than me. She can identify like 200 edible plants. I know maybe 30. 200. Someone in the crowd whispers. His sibling knows 200. Another voice echoes. How many siblings does Earth produce? A panicked delegate asks. Chancellor Preem quickly cuts in before mass. Hysteria breaks out. Yes, well, thank you, Jake, for that illuminating perspective. We will be in contact with Earth's representatives regarding the curriculum development. He's trying to end the ceremony quickly, but Jake's still talking. Oh, and if you want to make it a real challenge next time, maybe drop people somewhere with actual dangerous wildlife? That planet was pretty tame. No bears, no wolves, no venomous snakes. My grandpa would have called it a beginner course. He used to take me camping in places where we had to hang our food in trees so grizzly bears wouldn't eat it. Now that's survival training. The crowd has gone completely silent. Someone drops a datapad, and the clatter echoes through the amphitheater. Grizzly bears, Admiral Crix says faintly. What are grizzly bears? Oh, they're these massive predators on Earth. Weigh like 800 pounds, can run 30 miles an hour, can tear through metal with their claws. Beautiful animals, really. We just learned to camp smart around them. Make noise so you don't surprise them. Store food properly. Know when to back away slowly versus when to play dead versus when to fight back. There are different protocols depending on the attack scenario. Tolan translates for the crowd, his voice hollow. Yeah, obviously, Jake says like this is the most normal thing in the world. Different predators require different responses. That's just common sense. Corvax has been silent this entire time, but he finally speaks up, his voice carrying across the amphitheater. How is your species not extinct? You live on a death world with creatures that can tear metal and you send your children there for recreation? Jake shrugs. I mean, you just have to be smart about it. Use your brain. Respect nature. Don't be stupid. Humans are pretty good at adapting. It's kind of our thing. Chancellor Preem desperately tries to regain control of the ceremony. Yes, thank you, Jake. Inspiring words. The council will now adjourn to discuss trade negotiations and other matters. This concludes the formal ceremony. The delegates begin filing out, but the chatter is almost deafening. Representatives are already communicating with their home worlds. Several species are demanding emergency sessions to review Earth's threat assessment. Jake's escorted off the platform by a nervous security detail. As he's leaving, he stops by Fleen and gives the blob an encouraging pat, which causes Fleen to jiggle happily. Hey man, you did great out there. That photosynthesis discovery was clutch. You should be proud. Thank you, Fleen gurgles, shimmering with joy. You're my hero, Jake. I'm sorry I'm being weird about it. You're not weird, buddy. You're doing fine. Even Corbax receives a respectful nod. You too, man. That meditation thing seemed to help you stay calm. Different strategies for different species, right? Corbax just stares at him, unable to form words. Later, in the Council's emergency private session, Admiral Crix pulls up Earth's classification file. With a few keystrokes, he changes it from Class 7 Low Threat to Class 2 High Caution, with a special designation that's never been used before. Apex Survivor Species, Do Not Challenge. In the notes section, he types, Humans consider deadly predator environments as recreational spaces for children. They domesticated wolves by feeding them. They terraform their own behavior to adapt to threats rather than fleeing them. Recommend extreme diplomatic courtesy and never provide them with motivation to view us as a problem to be solved. Judge Tolan reads it over his shoulder. Should we add anything about the rock knife? Everyone already knows about the rock knife, Crix says tiredly. The entire galaxy knows about the rock knife. There are already 3 million memes about the rock knife. Down in the station's transport bay, Jake's being processed for return to Earth. The processing clerk, a timid avian creature, nervously, hands him a data pad. Sign here for your return transport, and here for your prize money, and here acknowledging that you're not upset about the accidental abduction. Not upset at all, Jake says cheerfully, signing with his finger. This was actually a nice break from work. Got some good camping in. Haven't felt this relaxed in months. You found the survival challenge relaxing, the clerk says slowly. Well, yeah. No emails, no schedules, just me and nature. Very zen. Hey, do you think your bosses would let me come back sometime? That planet was really peaceful. The clerk makes a sound like a tea kettle having a breakdown. I will submit your request to the appropriate channels. Jake's transport arrives, a small shuttle that will take him to a larger ship bound for Earth. As he boards, carrying his crystal trophy and his stone knife souvenir, he turns back one more time. Thanks for the adventure, everyone. And seriously, if you need help with that survival curriculum, just let me know. I'm pretty sure my grandpa would love to help. He's retired and keeps saying he's bored. The thought of multiple humans with even more survival knowledge makes the clerk's feathers stand on end. The shuttle door closes, and Jake departs, completely unaware that he's fundamentally altered how the galaxy views his entire species. 3 days later, Jake's back on Mars Station, back in his custodial uniform, mopping the same hallways he mopped before. His supervisor never even knew he was gone, thanks to some bureaucratic magic from the council. The crystal trophy sits on his small apartment shelf, next to a photo of him and his grandpa on a camping trip. His coworker, Dave, notices the trophy during break. Hey, nice crystal thing. Where'd you get that? Won a survival competition? Jake says casually, biting into a sandwich. Cool, cool. Like one of those weekend warrior things? Something like that. Dave nods and goes back to his lunch. On Earth and Mars, life continues, normally. Nobody knows that the Galactic Council has quietly placed humanity on a watch list titled, Species to Never Ever Give a Reason to Problem Solve Against Us. In the Council archives, Jake's competition footage is classified as educational material and marked with a warning label. Viewing may cause existential distress in species ranked Class 3 or lower. And somewhere in Montana, Jake's grandpa is teaching his granddaughter how to make a bow drill fire starter, completely unaware that his basic camping lessons have terrified an entire galaxy.